Right now, your body is keeping a weapon pointed straight at you. At any moment, the wrong comment, the wrong glance, one embarrassing thought that floats up out of nowhere, it can flood your face with color, announce to everyone in the room that you are rattled, and there is absolutely nothing you can do to stop it. You can't fake it, you can't hide it, you can't will it away any more than you can tell your heart to stop beating. And here's the strangest part. You are the only animal on earth that does this. No other creature blushes, not one. And evolution didn't leave it in by accident. It built this into you on purpose. Think about how bizarre that is for a second. Almost everything your body evolved to do is meant to help you survive, to hide weakness, to look strong, to give nothing away. A cornered animal puffs up. A frightened animal freezes. A wounded animal slips quietly out of sight so nothing notices it's vulnerable. Hiding weakness is the whole game. And then there's blushing, a reaction that does the exact opposite. It takes your most private, most vulnerable moment, the flash of shame, the caught-in-a-lie panic, the awful realization that everyone just saw, and it broadcasts it. It paints it on your face in bright red for everyone to see. It is, on paper, one of the worst ideas evolution ever had. So tonight we're going to answer a question that a lot of very smart people have been stuck on for over a century. Why do humans blush? Not why your face gets warm. Why your body evolved a built-in system to expose you against your will. Let's start with what's actually happening under your skin, because it explains why you can't control it. Blushing is your fight-or-flight response, misfiring in the most human way possible. When you feel embarrassed, a tiny alarm goes off deep in your brain, in the same region that handles fear. It doesn't wait for permission. It fires a jolt of adrenaline through your body, exactly as if you were facing a physical threat. Your heart speeds up. Your blood pressure climbs. But here's the part that makes blushing different from ordinary fear. In your face and neck, the small blood vessels just under the skin do something unusual. Instead of tightening, they swell open. Warm, oxygen-rich blood rushes up into thousands of tiny capillaries sitting right beneath the surface. And because the skin of your face is thin and on most of us nearly bare, all that blood shows straight through. Your cheeks go red, your ears burn, your whole face feels like it's giving off heat. And every bit of that is run by your autonomic nervous system, the same automatic machinery that digests your food and beats your heart. That's the key. You have no switch for it. You cannot command a blush to appear, and you cannot command it to stop. It happens to you. Which raises an obvious question. If this reaction is so embarrassing, so exposing, so completely outside your control, why on earth do we have it at all? Charles Darwin was obsessed with this exact question. He called blushing the most peculiar and most human of all expressions, and it genuinely troubled him because it broke his own rules. Darwin's whole framework was built on traits that help a creature survive and reproduce. Blushing seemed to do neither. It advertised weakness. It handed your rivals a signal that you were flustered. He tried for years to explain it, and in the end, he couldn't. For more than a century after him, blushing sat there as an open puzzle, an evolutionary enigma. Every other expression on your face has a match somewhere in the animal kingdom. The smile, the frown, the bared teeth, the wide-eyed look of fear. You can find versions of all of them in other primates, but the blush stands completely alone. No chimp blushes, no gorilla, no wolf, no dolphin, none of the animals we think of as emotional and intelligent. Only us. So why? Why would evolution build and then keep a system whose entire job is to expose you? The answer that finally started to make sense flips the whole thing on its head. And if you saw our video on crying, this is going to sound familiar because it's the same deep idea. What looks like a weakness may have been the entire point. Here's the logic. Imagine you're living the way humans lived for almost all of our history, in a small group, a few dozen people, where your survival depended completely on staying in everyone's good graces. In a world like that, the worst thing that can happen to you isn't a predator. It's being cast out, losing the trust of your group, and trust runs on one thing above all, knowing who actually feels bad when they do something wrong and who doesn't. Now imagine two people both break a social rule, both take more than their share, both get caught in a lie. The first one just stares back, cold, unbothered. The second one's face goes bright red. Which one do you forgive? You forgive the one who blushed, instinctively, because that red face is telling you something words never could. It's saying, I know I messed up. I feel it. I care what you think of me. I am not a threat to this group. And crucially, you know they're not faking it, because a blush cannot be faked. That's the whole trick. Anyone can say sorry. Anyone can perform regret. But your face turning red is involuntary, automatic, impossible to produce on command, which makes it one of the most honest signals a human being can send. In the language of biology, it's a signal that's reliable precisely because it can't be gamed. And this isn't just a nice theory. Researchers have actually tested it. In one clever experiment published in 2011, psychologists had people play a game where a participant would cheat, betray the other player for their own gain. Then, they showed observers that person's reaction. And the finding was remarkable. The cheaters who blushed afterward were trusted again far more quickly than the ones who didn't. The blush literally repaired the damage. It bought back trust that the betrayal had destroyed. The title of the study says it perfectly: Saved by the Blush. Think about what that means. That embarrassing, exposing, uncontrollable reaction you've spent your whole life wishing you could switch off. It may be one of the reasons your ancestors were forgiven instead of exiled. One of the quiet tools that kept fragile human groups from tearing themselves apart every time someone made a mistake. Blushing didn't survive despite being embarrassing. It survived because being embarrassed, visibly and honestly, made you someone worth keeping around. But there's still one piece missing. Why us? Why did this become a human thing and not a chimpanzee thing or a wolf thing? Other animals live in groups. Other animals have social rules and hierarchies and consequences for breaking them. So why is the blush ours alone? Part of the answer is almost funny in how simple it is. We lost our fur. Look at a chimpanzee's face and then look at a human's. Ours is naked. Bare skin, thin skin, with blood vessels sitting right near the surface. Somewhere along our evolutionary path, we shed the fur that covers nearly every other primate's face, and in doing so, we accidentally turned our faces into signal boards. A flush of blood that would be completely hidden under a chimp's dark facial hair becomes, on a bare human face, impossible to miss. Evolution didn't necessarily set out to build a blushing machine. It's more likely that once our faces were exposed, natural selection took a reaction that was already there, the rush of blood under stress, and quietly put it to work as a social signal. The hairless face made the message visible, and once it was visible, it became useful. Now, here's where it gets genuinely dark, and it's the part I saved for the end. If blushing is the signal that says I have a conscience, I feel shame, I know when I've done wrong, then think about what it means when that signal is missing entirely. There are people who, after doing something genuinely harmful, feel nothing. No flush, no heat in the face, no flicker of embarrassment at all. And researchers who study antisocial behavior have noticed exactly this. A face that never reddens after crossing a moral line can be a warning sign. The people who commit cold, calculated harm are very often the ones whose embarrassment system simply doesn't fire. Their internal alarm is broken. They can look you dead in the eye after the worst kind of betrayal, and their face stays perfectly, chillingly calm, which flips your entire feeling about blushing upside down. That hot, red, mortifying reaction you hate, the one that ambushes you in meetings and on dates and in front of strangers, is actually proof that something in you works. It's the visible sign of a conscience. It means you care about other people enough that your own body forces you to show it. I should be honest here, the way we always try to be. Scientists still argue about all of this. Some are convinced blushing is a finely tuned social signal shaped by evolution for exactly the reasons I've described. Others think it might be more of an accident, a leftover quirk of our fight-or-flight wiring that we've simply learned to read meaning into. More than 100 years after Darwin gave up on it, blushing is still, in some ways, an open mystery. We can measure the blood flow. We can film the exact temperature of a reddening cheek. And we still can't fully explain why we're the only creatures on Earth who do it. But whichever answer turns out to be true, the strangeness remains. Out of every living thing that has ever existed, every animal that has ever felt fear or shame or the sting of being caught, only one wears its embarrassment on its face for everyone to see. So the next time it happens to you, the next time you feel that heat climb up your neck at the worst possible moment and you wish desperately that you could disappear, try to remember what you're actually doing. You're not malfunctioning. You're doing something no other animal on this planet can do. You're telling the truth with your face without saying a word. You're proving in the most involuntary way there is that you have a conscience and that you care. The animals can't. You can, and now you know why.